My name is Vivian Stewart.
And what kind of a medical professional were you before you retired?
I was a college educator in medicine. I also am a clinical laboratory scientist, licensed in the state of New York, but I'm now living in Charlotte, North Carolina.
And tell us what you say that you could see this coming. Tell us what you mean by that.
Yeah. Well, first I want to at least tell you thank you, Holly, Robert Kennedy Jr., the wonderful work that I have seen, the Children's Health Defense. This is coming from my heart. That's why I had to come here to say hello. I had to come to the bus to say hello.
Thank you for doing that.
The Children's Health Defense TV, The Defender, and more. Yes, you may think you are alone, but you're not. There are many people out there getting the information out, and the valuable information that and the work you all of you have been doing. So that is why I had to come and say thank you for not forgetting about humanity. Now, how did I know certain things? As a clinical laboratory scientist, but also we have instincts. We can feel things. And what happened, we started hearing a few things in 2019. But in 2020, I traveled 3 times out of the state of North Carolina, but you were hearing a few things about the so-called virus. When I returned after my 3rd trip, early part of March of 2020, then you started hearing more about the so-called lockdown and the concern of this coronavirus. But I could also tell that things were not what they say it was. I can tell that the news media, now this is for me, was doing a lot of fear-mongering and had the people very concerned. Now, in my field as a clinical laboratory scientist, I worked over almost 45 years in the hospital. I worked in the field of microbiology, studying bacteria, studying viruses also, and also taught in that field. But I tell everyone, with all that I may have, and even licensed out of the state of New York, in my field, license number 3, you didn't need any of that to know. When you started hearing certain things in the news, there should have been a concern.
Let me move here, sorry, carry on.
And when there is a concern that you may feel, I would say to anyone, you need to stand down. Don't just jump and take things. You have to research yourself. So people were being admitted into the hospital, and you started hearing people dying, many other things. But I also knew that in my research, there were information that was given to the U.S. government in the medical area that be careful of ventilators. And I also was aware that a lot of these people were dying because of the ventilator. As I warned my family, I warned them and relatives, please stay away from hospitals and nursing homes. I warned them. This was in 2020, because the so-called, if there was an infection in the hospital, it can be a problem. So I warn a lot of family and friends, but I didn't say to them yet to be careful of the ventilators. And we believe in being healthy, working on your health, doing exercise, getting out. What happened, numerous people in the community started getting sick. We worked to assist them. And I always tell, when you hear certain things of this, we were hearing this so-called virus. I started studying it, and what I did, I also noticed if there was a so-called virus, it seems people was getting sick toward the cooler months and possibly respiratory. Now, this is what I started doing my own study. We also started studying about how to protect ourselves in the family. People also started looking into, we would send information out in the community, and valuable information. We also wanted people to know about the Children's Health Defense and the wonderful organizations out there working. Now this was before the so-called vaccine. I don't like to use that term vaccine because I knew it wasn't. I learned also that people, yes, they were dying because of that ventilator, and that there were things going on in the hospital, and that is why I warned my family and friends, stay away from hospitals and nursing homes. We did further research, and we worked on natural healing. So when someone would get sick in our community, we all, the community, we got together and we would send them certain natural remedies, you may call them. Turmeric, ginger, lemon drinks, sorrel, certain things for healing. We also knew we wanted to be very careful going into hospitals. And continuous, we also learned more things from other people that were out there with the alarm. They alarmed us. And people would send valuable information out. So I will say to all who are out there giving valuable information, there are numerous doctors doing great work. I knew about Del Bigtree, Highwire. He's not a doctor, but he's a medical investigator doing wonderful work. I knew about Dr. Mercola, many others. Risa Islam, many others are people who are out there trying to get the information out. But I also continuously saw the fear-mongering of the news media, that they were scaring the people, and the tech and censoring. I also saw that. And so, but information is gotten out through the grassroots too. And I will say to all, people see you, they hear you, and your work is not done in vain. And we thank you for all the work you've been doing in reference to. But later, I knew they were preparing you so that with the fear or fear-mongering, when the virus or when the so-called vaccine comes, you'll take anything. That was a very big concern for most. And yes, I know there was grave harm done with the vaccine. But now I'm seeing so many waking up. And I must say, I thank God for that, because they see and they have learned a lot. Yes, there's been a lot of harm done. I've had family members who have passed, numerous funerals. I have family members who have cancer, where they were in remission. I have family members who didn't have cancer, but now they're fighting for their lives now with cancer. I've had family members, strokes, many other things that have been very devastating to the family. And so that is why I wanted to come. Oh yes, the work is not over. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot. But I will say to all of you, be patient with the people. Be kind. Understand their brains are fragile. They cannot take all that has happened. So you have to be careful with the amount of information you may give. You give them little bits, and you let them do some research on their own. And I say, all of you, stay strong. See, God is in the midst. So the work that you're doing, you're fighting for humanity, because what has happened, it is evil. And so I want to thank you, Polly, and many of the wonderful people all over the world. Now, I'm going to tell you, I've studied what has happened in Germany, Australia, Venezuela, Canada, UK. We've researched that. And I'll say to all, when you're doing the research of looking, you have to stay in prayer with your research. And you have to ask God to guide you to what is true, because the lies, the narratives that are out there is so thick, you can cut it with a knife. And so I will say to all of you, don't give up. There are many people who love what you're doing, what you've done, and you are saving lives. And God bless you.